6, 5, 6, 7. Woo!
All right, we're rolling. Welcome, everyone. This is the Smart in Public podcast. It's a podcast that discusses business, careers, and life through the eyes of public relations and communications experts. For all of you that don't know, I'm Katie Boyson.
And I'm Katie Duffy.
And we are here today with Michael O'Brien and Cortney Stapleton. Welcome to the both of you. It's our first time having 4 people on the show all at once. So, here we go. Let's give it a shot. For anyone that doesn't know Michael or Cortney, Michael is the CEO of Highwire, and Cortney is the formerly known as CEO of the Bliss Group, but now Chief Strategy and Business Officer at Highwire as well. And that's what we're really here to talk about today. It's all about the future of the PR agency. What does acquisition look like? And we're going to hear it from 2 people that just went through this in January. So welcome to the show, and congrats on your acquisition as well.
Thank you.
Tell us about this acquisition. How did it come about? How is it going to benefit your clients in the future? Give us a rundown on what that's looking like.
So we started talking last September, Cortney. Is that when we met?
Yeah.
And we had been looking for an acquisition partner for some time at Highwire. And we met the Michael Roth, Cortney's partner at the Bliss Group, and Cortney. And, I don't want to suggest love at first sight, but when we met, we immediately clicked, meaning as humans, me and our 2 founders met with the 2 of them, and there was immediate professional chemistry. We were speaking a similar language. We were talking about our business in similar ways. You could tell that a people first orientation dominated both of the ways that we were describing our organizations. And it was just a great kickoff. We left the meeting thinking wow, that went really well. That felt really good. Let's continue that conversation. And as we got more into the details, what tremendous success the Bliss Group has had over particularly the last 10 years, and how Cortney and Michael had built that business, we just saw so many synergies in working together in terms of their strengths making up for things that we weren't as good at, and vice versa. And so the collective just seemed to be something worth pursuing. And I think the thing that the sort of ties that bind us are how we think about the public relations business, how committed we are to clients, how committed we are to understanding our clients' businesses at great depth. And then, as I mentioned before, sort of that people first orientation, which is, we're in a talent business, and the application of talent is what we do for clients, and making those matches work. And we could see that they viewed it very similarly. And then on top of that, you had 2 businesses that were so complementary, meaning very, very little client overlap, almost none. Their tremendous strength in financial services, professional services, and healthcare, and our tremendous strength in technology, in several aspects of technology, just made it for a perfect connection. And we're more powerful, more impactful for clients than we were separate.
Cortney, was it love at first sight for you?
I mean, well, it would be weird to say no. No, it totally was. And I think for us, for the Bliss Group, and I've been here for 23 years. So for us, it was really about finding what was next and really helping us accelerate in areas that, we have amazing team, amazing client base, and we really wanted to find a partner who could help us accelerate that growth, because we'd seen really tremendous growth over the last 4 or 5 years. And so, we kind of walked out of that room. And for me, obviously, spending 23 years here, and pretty much our entire executive leadership team has all been here over 10 years, so between 10 and 15 years. So culture was key, right? Like it was going to be all about culture, and there were very few people we were even talking to see whether this could be something. And we walked out of that meeting too and felt they really feel the way we do about their people, their culture, and their client service, and the way that they think about the work that we're all trying to do, especially in the B2B space, and where people and ideas are at the center. Like we do trend into B2B. I mean, we do trend into B2C, but like really having a person and an idea at the center is a little bit of a different, it's a different animal. And so really also bringing together the trifecta of looking at government and regulation, corporate, and then nonprofit impact, kind of how are they interacting with the biggest issues hitting the economy today. Both of our firms do that. They do it for technology firms and healthcare, and we did it for healthcare, financial services, professional services, and impact. And so there really was a perfect kind of synergy among the client base and the work that we did.
Nice. And so it's fairly recent. So obviously still going through it all, but what have been kind of some of the things that have surprised you, or positives, negatives, challenges, like when you go through something like this, what have you learned along the way?
I think for me, and then Michael can jump in, but not that I didn't expect it, but the people have immediately sort of connected with each other, right? They have a huge presence in the San Francisco office. We have a big presence in New York, and they're pulling into our office, and just kind of the seamlessness of which it has happened. People are spending time here. They're spending time together. We have already pitched multiple companies together and won together multiple times in the last 6-7 weeks. I don't think that is normal for an integration like this. So we are already working on clients. There are probably half a dozen clients where we've immediately brought their people in, and it has made a difference. Whether it's their chief creative officer or it's, an enhanced AI team. And so I think that there's already a proof of concept that this is working. Yeah. And I think for me, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Which makes sense given you guys felt that leadership cultural connection that, hopefully you hope that flows down, that there's a similar cultural, currency between the two teams, between the people. But it's lovely to see, because I think you're right. I think the back end stuff can happen, but if the people don't kind of latch on and really connect, so that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like you guys have done a really great job at like cultivating that type of culture within your own businesses. And then when they came together, obviously that it started from the top down of really understanding we're one team now. I don't know if a ton of even companies outside of like, you see in-house PR teams with, acquisitions that happen there, but even in an agency where it's so complex, I don't think that everyone's got that down. So maybe it might be worth to kind of dig into like how you guys manage talent during those transitions and what that looks like as well. Because I think a lot of employees will hear acquisition and they'll, start updating their LinkedIn profiles. So what is your secret? Like, what should people inside agencies actually expect when their shop gets acquired? Like, what should they be asking leadership? What should they be preparing for themselves? Like, what are some of those things that you would recommend they do?
As the acquiree, so I think what's the most important piece of this really is the transparency, right? And so we were pretty transparent with our senior leadership team from day one. So I think, which is also somewhat unusual, but we brought them into this process at the very beginning, told them what we were thinking, told them this was about acceleration for growth, and had them meet with the Highwire team, had them, meet with folks face to face multiple times, and really kind of get into the nitty gritty nuts and bolts of both our values, our culture, but also clients and how we work and how we do things. And so when it came time to them announce and bring everyone else in, I think that was really important because it was more than just me and Michael Roth, right? Or Michael O'Brien and Carol and Emily, who were, part of the original founding team of Highwire, saying, this is really great. It was all the other leaders who had known about it. We also brought in a few of our other next tier of leaders before, right before. So right before we announced to everybody else, after it was signed, we brought in them too to say, this is happening and here's why, and here's like part of the process and everything, so that when everyone looked around the room, right, as people do, to their leader, their manager, they were all smiling. They felt good about it. They could answer all the questions because they had been part of it. I think it's kind of unusual, but I think we also did something very important that Michael O'Brien and I did, which we did Ask Me Anything sessions, AMAs. We did them for all the Bliss people. We did them for in San Francisco together for the Highwire people. And it was really employees' chance very early on. It was like 2 days in, 3 days in, to ask anything. And we got out some of those fears, some of those, we brought in the head of people on day one, who was part of the announcement. When we had that AMA 3 days after the announcement to the agency, I said we had everyone in the Bliss team in front of us, 100 people, and we said, has anyone not met Andrew, who's the head of people? And not one person raised their hand. They'd all met him. And so it was those kinds of things to say, ask us, we're open. We've always been open door. And so for me, I think ask those questions. And if you're fearful, be very open about it. Say, this is making me nervous, whatever, but make sure as a leader that you are able to answer those questions and encourage them, because there's nothing more terrifying to a junior employee who just heard their firm was acquired than having a leader be inaccessible. So I also think it was a little bit of the worst kept secret. I think a lot of people afterwards were like, we knew something was happening because your door was closed and it's never closed. But anyway, so.
Yeah.
You got to close the door sometimes.
Exactly. I know.
I think that's really good advice. I love that you did the next layer down, because I think, Ask Me Anything is awesome, but we know there's going to be staff who will never ask the leadership, very top leadership, but they will definitely ask their manager, and their next line leader or whatever. So I think getting those people into the loop is a really smart move.
I will say that when we did the 2 AMAs, some of the most sort of incisive questions came from the most junior people. So
100%.
That's a good culture you built then. That's great.
Yes. And they like asking very specific questions about strategy, about the narrative around the agency, about what our thinking was in relation specifically to the deal. And it was great. And it was, it actually helped me quite a bit to get to know the staff at some depth, because I'm meeting, 20 somethings who are really like, they're really in it to win it. Meaning they're saying, hey, I want to understand what's going on here. And I would say, Katie, before you revise your LinkedIn profile, you might want to try to understand, like, what does this new agency represent, right? Because there might be an opportunity in that for you. Yeah. So rather than run away from it before you can, ascertain whether or not that opportunity exists, ask all the questions that you would want to know about a company if you were joining it. So, the thing that has always been a big part of my career is that when change happened and there was an opportunity attached to that change, you had the comfort of not leaving your job, meaning you're still surrounded by a lot of people but there's this new thing that you get to do. And so it's in some ways, it's better than a totally new job, because you're doing it in a very, very comfortable, safe space. That's what we're trying to do here. It's the thing that was so obvious when we started talking, and as I said, like sort of delving into each other's businesses, is the connections we could make. And we're, as Cortney mentioned a moment ago, we're already starting to see how we're inserting new talented people into various accounts on both sides, and how invigorating that is for the team, for the client, to hear a different voice, to hear a different perspective, and it's really great.
Can you give us a bit of an insight? I mean, we just talked about how you managed it on the internal side. What about it at the client side? What's been kind of maybe similar, a lot of transparency, or maybe not as much? Like how did you approach it from a client perspective?
So for us, our clients were really excited. We brought some of them in early because of different contracting things and such. So several knew, and they said, great, this seems great. They really wanted to know, are you staying? Are my senior leaders staying? Is my team staying? We said, yes, this is actually just going to be great. They are a firm built from technologists, right? And something like, yes, we have a good tech stack. They are technologists in a way that everything we do and the deep subject matter expertise is all in AI, data center, cybersecurity, all these things that you care deeply about. And they were like, great, this is amazing. So they felt like it was a yes and for all of them. We've really had nothing but positive, and we have positive reactions, and we have brought a lot of Highwire folks in. Now we're all one team, but have brought them into those discussions. I also think because they were a bit bigger than we were, they had a very robust creative team, and had, a creative director and with like a ton of experience. And I think that has been really impactful for some of our clients. So I think they've rounded out in both integrated services, but also subject matter expertise in areas that our clients really care about. And that's been nothing but positive.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing to see. Their first question is the most basic question of all, right? It's, am I going to keep my team?
Yeah.
And they want to know that the people that they've come to rely on are going to still be there. You're not going to switch them out for some reason. So that's the first thing. And once you climb over that hurdle, then there's an opportunity to start talking about the additional capabilities you can bring to bear. And the thing that at Highwire we found so interesting is, for a firm that is firmly rooted in technology, how many other companies in non-tech or non-clearly technological categories are interested in talking to a firm like ours because of how important innovation is to their storytelling? Like how you innovate, how you apply technology has become, from a reputational standpoint, a way more important element or driver of reputation than it was even 10 years ago. So the people at Highwire have a deep understanding of that technology and can talk about it. When you understand something at great depth, you can talk about it simply. So that's one of the things that has been, a great opportunity for us before the acquisition. And now we bring these two pieces together. And as I mentioned, one of the things that really sort of bound us is when we talk about clients, we talk about their business first, like understand the business. And then, of course, ultimately get to how does communication support that business in smart, measurable ways. So it was very much from the get-go. It's like, all right, that person that I just met is an expert at financial services. They understand that category in all its subcategories at great depth. And then you pair that with people that understand technology and innovation at great depth, you've really got some magic, because it's bringing a sensibility to a financial services client that they would normally not get from a firm that was just firmly rooted in financial services. So it's been a real plus for us, and we think it's going to be a real durable characteristic of our firm moving forward, and something that clients are going to want more and more.
I love that, because I think what you've just said actually challenges maybe some of the stigma that large agencies have when, you hear kind of some of the mumblings of they are just tactical, or they don't get under the hood of your business. And so hearing you kind of outline that and the way that you guys are thinking about that at Highwire, I think just, stomps your foot on it.
I think it's the reality of, you asked earlier about like where the agency business is going. And one of the places that it's going is the requirements of being a counselor to those kind of companies is that you have to be an actual counselor. You have to be able to help them, guide them in developing and setting strategy, in figuring out like what role does comms play here, and how can we make a difference for the business. That's where we start now, and as opposed to this starting with can you do a media tour for us, or can you call the media on our behalf? It's like that's not where the conversation's starting now. And I think clients are frankly expecting more from us for that reason. And we need to be able to deploy really smart senior people who have been there and done that, who can hold their own with a C-suite executive bringing their unique perspective to bear.
Well, let's talk about a little bit about where agency is going. You guys have gone through an acquisition, but we are seeing a lot of consolidation as well, particularly at the big end of town. And, we, on this podcast, we talk to a lot of people, we get people writing in a lot, and there is a little bit of this sense, we've seen some layoffs that like the agency model is dying. It's, it's that kind of thing. So can we myth bust that today? Like, what's your perspective on where agency is today and some of the consolidation that we're seeing? Like, what do you think that's saying to the market? And just would love your perspective given you're living in the world right now.
I think when you mentioned on the big end of the spectrum, it's my opinion that a lot of the consolidation that's going on the holdco level has very little to do with delivering good communications counsel. And it has everything to do with reconciling the much larger parts of their business, their media operations, their advertising agencies, which dominate. When you talk about the holdcos, you're talking about PR being a slice to the tune of 9 or 10% of the total business.
Yeah.
So in some ways, I think PR firms or communications consultancies can be collateral damage to the upheaval that's happening on the other side. The thing that I noted when some of these holdcos are talking about consolidation is they would talk for 15 minutes and clients wouldn't be mentioned one time. It's like there was no sense for like, where's the client in all this? Where's the value creation from the client perspective? Yeah. And so, if you're doing things for the right reasons, like we're building this agency, Cortney embodies this with a client-centric approach. It's like we're about treating our people really well and pointing them at creating solutions for clients. That's what our business is about. It's not about anything else. So we can be laser-like in our focus to say, who are the people that can help us do that? And I think that very crystalline focus is really resonant with clients who are hearing all this rhetoric, none of which seems to apply to them.
Yeah. And then are you finding it, maybe it's easier to get talent because these big groups are letting go of talent, but what's the talent market like? Are you finding it easy or retaining talent? Tell us a little bit about how you're finding the talent space at the moment.
I think that there's a flood of talent out there. There are a lot of very talented professionals who have been victims of the consolidation of some of these large agencies coming together and kind of just what's happening in the industry in general. I think some people that are actually still there won out. Yeah. So I do think it's we've, knock on wood, felt very good about our talent retention at both firms separately and very good about it coming together. And I do think for any agency right now that is in the position as we are to be recruiting, we added 6 folks this month. And so I think that looking at those agencies that are able to do that, this is a great time to find some really talented executives and folks who might find themselves out there. So I do think it's pretty good for folks sitting in our seats.
Yeah. I echo that entirely. I think that we're in a moment now where people are feeling very unsettled. You kind of referenced that. You guys referenced that at the beginning of the conversation. And that said, this too shall pass for those agencies, and those large agencies will continue to be, the behemoths of our, our industry. I don't think that in any way I would ever suggest that they're not going to do good work and have talented people. They will. But I think there are alternatives now in ways that there were not alternatives that long ago to work at a firm like ours and have access to a world-class tech stack. You'll be surrounded by world-class talent, and you're doing so in an independent firm that has scale but isn't huge. So we are firmly mid-sized, and so that you could choose that the opportunity to do world-class work is you could do it in a lot of places now. So and we're one of them. So it's up to us to make the case to top talent to say, here, here's what your opportunity at Highwire looks like, and make the case for our firm in the same way that we would make the case to a new business prospect. And it's I think it's a super exciting time to be in this business. AI is changing what we do, how we do it every day, the precision at which we can bring data to bear, and how rapidly we can do that. It is super exciting to be part of this latest wave of change. And we feel like as a firm that we're really well positioned to really kind of embody our entrepreneurial roots. We're two firms that were largely built by entrepreneurial women, and many of them, including Cortney, are still sitting here and a part of our team. And it's I said right from the outset that our goal number one, aside from making the case to our people, was to keep hold of that entrepreneurial feeling, to make sure that at the size that we are now, that we're not losing that thing that got us there, that that hustle, and I've seen no evidence so far that it's waning, but we were very specific about saying that how important we thought that was and how distinguishing that particular characteristic was for us.
Is there, just thinking about the future, like what does innovation look like for agencies moving forward? Like all the way from the tech stack to the thinking in the process. Like what do you guys envision a good agency is going to operate as, and kind of how they work in the future?
So this is the oracle of the obvious here, but we have to be entirely channel and platform agnostic. So we need to have capabilities to influence whatever stakeholders we're going after in every way that they consume information. So you're not really a public relations firm, public relations, a euphemism for media relations. We still are going to do traditional media relations more now than ever, given how LLMs are absorbing information and how important earned content is to that process. But we have to make sure that we're meeting our audiences where they are, and with compelling content that makes a difference for them. Where the innovation, I think, is going to come is how do we figure out what the optimal ways to reach those audiences are? Like, can we dial in our efforts to be very, very precise about who we're going after and what message we're delivering with them? So I think there's going to be a level of a continuous level of precision that is being applied to the work that we do, and get more and more and more clear about each and everything that we do and what its impact is. I think the other piece of the puzzle is going to be is innovation in content delivery. So I think there's a better opportunity than there ever was for communications consultancies to drive content strategy. Given that content is to remain relevant, it has to be literally in the moment. So the idea of like going off to a commercial shoot and shooting for 6 months and then coming back, and that is not how people consume content anymore. So I think our chops at being quick to understand and analyze the situation, quick to create strategies that can impact it, and then quick to come up with creative solutions, usually via content strategy. I think that's going to be the thing that will define PR moving forward.
And the only thing I would add to that, because I completely agree with all of that, the only thing that I would add is I think we also have to make sure that we make room for people to continue to be both critical thinkers and intellectually curious. Because those are two things that you actually can't teach. Yeah. And the LLMs can't do in the way that we need them to. And I do think that they will get more and more, smart, and the prompts will get better and all of that. But at the end of the day, I think the innovation is also going to come from taking all these things and putting it together and sitting down and being like, this is a really cool idea. Have we thought about this? And understanding the nuance of the conversation you just had with the client and something you pulled from a tool and data that you got about this audience they're really, focused on, and really allowing for that time to, think critically and think creatively about that, and the bringing together of those kind of disciplines and everything that MOB just said. I think it's the reason why some of this, folks want the senior folks on the council and all of that, on the counseling for them. But I think from an innovation perspective, people who are just focusing on this, AI, one person AI agency, and it's going to be great. It's like, it's not going to work.
Well, that's I was going to say, that's the thing that we keep saying too, is like everybody in comms know that comms is a team sport, right? And I think growing up in agency world, Duvesey and I both did that. And I think that was one of the biggest things I think that helped shape my career, was like learning all of the things that the team sport teaches you how to do from a comms perspective. And to your point, I think, we're also seeing how AI is making it smaller teams. It's helping smaller teams punch way above their weight. Yeah. But I think that magic, that comes with agency land is the ability to get real brains together and understand the nuance of things and to collaborate that way as well.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that on another podcast in terms of like, what do you look for when you're hiring? And one of the things the guest was saying was like, well, AI is going to take away some of this admin stuff, but I'm looking for intellectually curious people. I'm looking for people who think creatively. And so I do think, those skill sets are going to become even more relevant.
Even more critical.
Right.
Yeah.
If AI agents develop judgment, we might all need to find a different line of work. But until then, I think we are going to have a very important role in trying to figure out what companies should do and what they definitely should not do. Because as much information as you could get out of a chatbot, you're not going to be able to decide that or that. You need a human to do that, and usually a human with some experience and a human that understands the world that they're operating in, the client world they're operating in. These are all things that will be very, very important until technology takes over, and then we can just stay home.
Hopefully by then we're on a beach somewhere and we're all done. So.
Yeah, exactly.
With all of that too, like if we're sitting here 3 years from now, like what does the agency landscape actually look like, given we've got smaller teams punching above their weight, we've got boutique firms, we've got consultants? Like, what do you guys think that the vision is for agency in the future?
I think the short answer is there's not one vision. And I think I think what you're seeing on the holdco level is you're going to see continued consolidation, and you're going to get a couple of billion plus dollar agencies that will be the Exxon of this this industry.
Yeah.
But again, like, as long as there are clients that need expertise unique to their business, there's going to be room for various size players, from single contributors to those giant behemoth agencies. And I've worked long enough to watch this pendulum swing back and forth, where, for example, you wake up one day and every client is consolidating. So they want one agency across the globe, blah, 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 right? And then 15 minutes later, they're breaking up the consolidation. Consolidation is bad. We don't want any consolidation. So there have been repeated sort of swings one way or the other. In every one of those moments, there was a role to play for various types of agencies. I will say the agencies that are going to go bye-bye are the ones that are not utilizing technology effectively. Meaning, you can't just put your finger up in the wind anymore and say, oh, we should, here's your answer. Like, that is not good enough. And so agencies that are not investing heavily in creating both go-to-market products that are AI-enabled, technology, centric products, as well as that foundation of a technology infrastructure that enables you to do your work every day. So there's going to be both of those things happening at once. And if you don't keep pace with that change and you don't innovate, you ask, where is innovation going to come from? It's going to be the continuous improvement of those tools. And if you don't keep up with that, you're going to be extinct. It's just, there's no two ways about that. This is moving very quickly. And for those agencies that have not spent the time to understand the application of those tools, and then invested in those tools and invested in the training around those tools, they're going to have a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Can you, without sharing, trade secrets or anything that, but just tell us a little bit about maybe how you think about your tech stack and what you've kind of built, like, given the point you just made. I know you've made a lot of investments in thinking about that. Just, can you talk us through a little bit of your thinking in terms of the tech stack that you offer and have for your people and clients?
And I want to add on one thing to that. Do you have to build your own stuff, or can you use other stuff?
Both.
Okay.
I think one thing we did, and I'll let MOB speak to the full tech stack, but one of the things we did kind of really early on was we co-designed a very specific AI for our clients that pulled all the LLMs, created, all our clients are in highly regulated industries. And so this is a couple years ago. We sort of started with the developers who really knew how to build things. They had built lots of things before. They wanted to build a platform for agencies and for communications, but they didn't have that communications expertise. And so we got looped in with them to literally co-design the platform. So we were very early adopters, and our clients benefited heavily from being early adopters of this kind of really very early agentic workflows and things, like skipping way over kind of the prompting in some ways, but in building on the back end to get the types of outputs that at the time Bliss clients expected. And so that mix of our people, like not people who were necessarily, some of them were on the insights team, but some of them, one of them was our head of content, was able to work with these developers and figure out how to build these workflows, some that are proprietary at the time to Bliss and now Highwire, and some that are, more are sort of democratized into the platform. And so I think for us, that was the cornerstone of what we decided to build in technology. And then we have lots of other tools and things that are off the shelf that bolt into, these very kind of cool tools for our clients. And all agencies have them. And some use, but I used to say, and when other clients are doing the enterprise version of ChatGPT, we have this. And so, but I do think that all agencies have some great tool and use at this point of AI. And I'll just add on to the other thing that Michael was answering around your question of the agencies of the future. I think it's yes, if you aren't using technology. I also think if you are not investing in your people, because you have to invest in both. And there's a lot of agencies out there that I've heard that are like, oh, we actually aren't hiring as many junior people. And I think that's a huge mistake. And so I think you have to kind of keep pace with both tracks. You have to have the technology, and then you have to have the people. And so you're investing. So you have these subject matter expertise and experts, and you have people who can truly be integrated thinkers within your agency. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind. And I think some agencies are very siloed and may not be thinking in that way yet. And so I do think that is a caution for them as well.
I think the evolving nature of entry-level jobs in our business is an important topic, and you just touched on it. And I think I don't have a crystal ball to know precisely what 10 years from now an assistant account executive job will precisely look like. But what I will say is that person is going to be doing much more frontline work than a junior person would have done years in the past. Meaning, they're going to be the first line of research, for example. They're going to have to be able to get very smart very quickly about very sort of arcane topics, and they'll be the first line of us, because we often have to get up to speed on topics, whether it be in the new business context or a new opportunity with an existing client, or there's a trend we're trying to understand. So those young people are going to have to vest learning time into showing up at Highwire and being that for us, as opposed to, doing mundane tasks.
I think that's such an important point too, because if the future of being a comms person and being good at your job is judgment, then you need to have people coming in and knowing what good looks like, right? And so I think that's a huge part of how we skill up talent in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that it goes back to the intellectual curiosity piece as well, is, if these people are coming in, they're often, they're 100% digital native. They've grown up with a lot of this stuff. And I find that their thought process around like what prompting could look like, what tools could look like, what if we built this? Like, I think and this is kind of my message to people coming in who are young, is like, don't underestimate the knowledge you have built in naturally to the way you've been living your life in terms of the digital access that you've had and what that curiosity could bring to an agency. And then to your point, Michael, it just hopefully means they're not doing the stuff that we were all doing when we started, like cutting clips out, building media all of those things that, quite frankly, I don't know how much that taught us versus sitting in the room with the senior people hearing how they engaged with clients. Like, that's where you learned stuff. It wasn't necessarily in the mundane. So I think it's a good thing that some of that junior mundane work will not exist. Tools can do that for us now, which is great.
I think the challenge for the younger person coming into the business is that they're going to have to be useful value creators right out of the gate. So they're going to have to bring those skills with them.
And is there anything from like the future of agency, and we're seeing consolidation, we're talking about talent, like is there anything that like makes you nervous about the future?
What keeps you up at night?
Yeah.
I mean, that list is long. I don't know. We don't have time for that list. But
is that a different podcast?
Yeah. I think a lot of clients are looking at the advent of AI in the wrong way. Meaning, they're looking at it as an efficiency creator, as opposed to a creator of knowledge and new opportunity. And so what worries me is that they will boil down, that more clients will decide to boil down the application of AI to, can you do that for less, as opposed to, can you do more? can we even think about the impact of public relations at a more elevated state than we did before? That's the opportunity. That's, if you're an optimist, that's how you want to look at it, right?
Okay. Yeah, and I don't really want to answer the question of like what's keeping me up at night, because like, again, the list is long. Like I don't know. I will say that I'm sleeping better now than I did right before the deal. So.
Well, that's good. That's something, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So since the deal has been done, I am sleeping way better.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
So, yeah.
Good.
That's something.
Yeah. Well, Michael and Cortney, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations again on the acquisition. And we're just, we're forever curious about what the future of agency life looks like, because we're not in it anymore. So we're just so grateful that you guys are here to bring us up to speed. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to everyone next week.
Yes, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah, thank you both.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Take care.